But right, guys, again, we have another amazing local speaker, someone who's really campaigned for justice for girls in Oldham and actually has really shifted the needle. So this is a great man here. We have Roger Neer, MBE!
I'm told I speak too quietly, and my friend Lynn over there said make sure you speak louder. So I'll try my best, but if you can't hear me, just let me know and I'll stop.
Gotta speak louder than the left.
When I first came here today, and the crowd behind were shouting Nazis off our street, I remember seeing a swastika for the first time. It was painted on my front door. I was 4 years old. My dad ushered me away and sent me off to school. I had no idea what it was. And I came back at lunchtime, and I remember, and it was a generation of men who wore a suit no matter what, wore a tie no matter what. And one of my neighbours, a white gentleman, had his sleeves rolled up, and my dad, and they were both stripping the door, getting rid of the paint, and painting the door again. And that's the world I grew up in. I grew up in a world where I grew up alongside white working class people, and they raised me. And as far as I'm concerned, I did not care what your background is. Right is right, wrong is wrong, and we are fighting an evil here. This isn't just wrong, we are fighting an evil here. I was first told about this, and it is shame on me. When I was first told about this, I did not believe it. So they are right to shout shame on me, because it was shame on me. I spent the best part of 20 years of my life believing I was doing the right thing serving this country. And I came home, and a friend of mine, his name is Warren Bates, died last year. I sat at his deathbed. I didn't know him at the time. Nutcase of an old man, insistently contacting me. Please come and have a look at this. Please come and have a look at this. My life changed the day I dropped my daughter off in school for her first day in school. I dropped her off, I got in the car, and I drove from a leafy part of Saddleworth all the way down to Failsworth to meet with a man called Warren Bates. Like the lunatic he was, and I miss him dearly, he offered me a glass of water or a beer. I'd asked for a coffee. He then put in front of me a dossier of files, and that dossier of files, 6 years later, we now know there is no going back for anyone. Not only are the rape gangs real, the police and the politicians worked with each other to protect them. What happened in this country will be a shame. It is a shame, it's a national shame, and we will never go back from this until we have dealt with it. They sold children for votes. When we first started speaking out, Debbie Cole's here, and we don't see eye to eye on many things, do we, Debbie? I don't see eye to eye with many of you on many things, but on this, there are no sides on this. This is about the cover-up of the gang rape of children. How can there be sides on this? When the people who first came and stood alongside me, Debbie went to a council meeting, a few of us, there were elderly grandparents. It's shame on us that young men, I'm saying I'm looking at you because we need more men like you, young people will not come and stand alongside us. The army we galvanised in our town was mainly pensioners. It's embarrassing, we all should be embarrassed that we've got our elderly fighting for us, fighting for our children. I called her a disabled grandmother and she sent me a text message shouting at me, I remember. I remember the police turning up to the town hall, threatening the elderly with violence. I remember how, when we started speaking out, the police were mobilized and they went out knocking on doors of people, handing out what are called ASBOs. They were fake ASBOs actually, with the police letterhead on it, next to the council letterhead, threatening people for speaking out. I remember people who became friends of mine losing their jobs because the council wrote to their employers claiming they were far-right racists, when all they had done was share posts that I had published. And so there's no ambiguity. I am indeed brown-faced and I am indeed also a Muslim. And they went and called me a far-right racist. And why? And what are refugees are welcome here got to do with any of this? Right? What has it got to do with any of this? This is the stupidity of these people. And as our numbers grew, because we will not go away, as our numbers grew, the police were mobilized. I lost count of the times they dawn raided my house that I shared at the time. The first time with my daughter, who was 6 years old. They repeatedly dawn raided my house, 8 of them, 9 of them, time after time after time, to arrest me. And you know what they said when they put me in a cell? If you stop, all this will go away. If you stop, all this will go away. Well, wait, there is a reckoning coming for the police officers and the politicians, because there will be a national inquiry and they won't go to prison. We will not give up on this. There will be a national inquiry and these people will go to prison. Because it's already over for them, isn't it? A white conservative MP for some rural part of the country stood up in Parliament 2 weeks ago. Katie Lamb was her name, is her name. In Parliament, she stood up, and I'll quote her. She said this: "Fuck all the white girls and fuck the government." That is what these men believed when they were doing what they were doing. This isn't paedophilia. Do not for 1 minute mistake the rape gangs for paedophilia. This is about power, this is about entitlement, and this is about a belief structure that is completely at odds with our way of life. And we should stand up against it. And you are right to bring the banners that you have. You are right to bring the flags that you have, because that is what this is about. And yes, the Islamists have repeatedly openly endorsed my murder. And yes, the police protect these people. Why? Because they are neck deep in this scandal. Whether through accident or intent, they are neck deep in this scandal. And people say, Raja, who did this? You don't name names. I've been naming names from the beginning. And I'll name them in the middle of Manchester. The Greater Manchester Mayor, Andy Burnham, is neck deep in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children. My MP, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon, covered up the grooming and gang rape of children, and he covered them up for votes. He used the funeral of Lee Rigby to hide, to keep from parents like you, that children in our town were being dragged off the streets into shisha bars where they were being groomed and gang raped. Children being dragged into cars from the gates of school, and you want me to look the other way? I don't care who the perpetrators are. I don't care if it was my brother. I would see them in prison and I would kick the crap out of them first before I put them in prison. This wasn't a failure. Let's be clear, this wasn't a failure. This was callous. This was calculated. This was coordinated. And there are so many powerful people who are complicit in what took place. Children, yes, they were sold for votes. Children, yes, they were sold, or people looked the other way to protect their careers. Children were ignored, who were being gang raped because of this model of multiculturalism that has comprehensively failed this country, because multiculturalism, in the way it has evolved, does not work. It has not worked, and it will not work, and we need to find a better way. We need to find a different way. There are many more, because you will see at the next general election, you will see, because this is political. The reason they tried to put me in prison is because I have made it political. The reason Rupert Lowe has launched his inquiry or his crowdfunder, £600,000 so far, nothing like this ever seen in this country. Because a small group of northern men and women made this political. We made this political because the solution to this is political. I don't enjoy these rallies, I'll be honest with you, but I've come to respect them because I come and meet people and I see people and I understand what these rallies are about now. These rallies are where we come and draw strength from each other, where we know and we look at each other and we know we are not on our own. Because the truth is, there are many more of us than there are of them. And it doesn't matter how many of us they put in prison. It doesn't matter how many of us they write hit piece after hit piece in the state-sponsored media about. We all now know the truth. Not only were the grooming gangs real, the cover-up was political. We can talk about, and I do talk about, the ideology of the men who committed these crimes. But everywhere I've been in the world, there are evil men doing evil things to children. Everywhere. The problem I have here is that our system, those who were entrusted to look after these children, sold our children. And they need to be held to account. And that is why, as well as supporting Rupert Lowe's inquiry, I also support Maggie Oliver's campaign. Maggie Oliver's campaign will see police officers, some of the most senior police officers, privately prosecuted. Maggie Oliver's campaign will see some of the most senior politicians in this country privately prosecuted. It does not matter if we win those prosecutions or if we lose those prosecutions. What matters is that we do what we can, because that is all we can do until a general election comes. Because at the general election, the defining issue that will win or lose the election will be who supports a public inquiry. We've seen the Conservatives. When we first started working with the Conservatives, 14 years they were in government, I went to Conservatives I knew. I went to Conservative politicians. Do you know what? At the time, the reason they didn't intervene, working class white children did not matter enough to them. That is the truth of where the Conservatives were, and they got a battering at the election. We then went to I've been going to the Labour Party since the beginning. I was a Labour Party member, let's be clear, they kicked me out. I sat in rooms with multiple prime ministers. They kicked me out because they said to me, Raja, you need to be quiet about this. The Labour Party are worse. They have benefited from this arrangement, and we need to put an end to this. And the only way, and I'm not a member of any political party. Nick's over there, he's a friend of mine, and wherever I go, people ask me about him, and I say, yeah, I don't agree with him on everything, but he's a friend of mine. And you stand by your friends. You stand by your friends even more when you think they're wrong than when they're right, because that's what friendship is. We need to join political parties. You need to vote for this man, you need to vote for reform, you need to vote for the Conservatives, you need to vote for whoever you want to vote for, but the only way we're going to win this is by you lot voting. Because the reason we're in this mess is the people from the communities I come from vote. Whether they want to or not, they vote. And that block vote carries weight, and it's time your block vote also carried weight. And believe me, there are far more of you than there are of them. Thank you so much.